Good morning, everyone. We're just going to get started in a couple of minutes, just giving you a quick heads up. Okay, folks, we're getting ready. All set? Good morning. I know there's a natural movie line from there. So we're dealing with Vietnam, but we won't go on that. We won't go there. Can you believe that today's the last day of the conference? It's unbelievable. How many have had a great time while you're here this week? Yeah, shake, yeah. Awesome. Awesome, yeah. Thank you so much for being here with us on this last day. I promise that you will enjoy all of the presentations, including our featured presentation this morning. Just a couple of reminders. We don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to explore the exhibit hall. It closes today at 1:30, so you really have the morning and the afternoon to early afternoon to get to it. If you haven't been around, please do. Lots of exhibitors here, some very cool technologies that are being distributed and displayed by a lot of our patrons, so we want to encourage you to go there. Also, the final Birds of a Feather networking event, its theme for those today is in education. So bring your lunch and join your fellow participants in Platinum Ballroom number 9 and 10, which if you don't know where that is, if you go out these doors, you take a right and then you take another right. It's around the corner, so right there, not too far. If you have any problems getting there, just ask any one of the CSUN attendants and they'll help you there. So we hope that you make the most of today, this last day of our conference. On behalf of CSUN Center on Disabilities, we thank you for a great week, a truly wonderful week, and we hope you leave us with fond memories. But let's make that leaving temporary, because we want to see you back next year for next year's conference, right around the same time. I don't have the dates in front of me, but around this time in March next year, so we look forward to seeing you. This morning's final featured presentation is really with a good group of friends, many who I've known for a few years, especially our guest from Disability In. But let me just introduce the session. The theme of our session this morning is making the case for inclusive innovation. Technology is moving faster than many ever anticipated, and embedding inclusive innovation practices are crucial to ensuring that no one is left behind. Learn from leaders from TD Bank and Disability In on the importance of inclusive innovation, how to embed it into your product and design life cycles, and how you can influence your own leadership table through impactful narratives. So speaking with us today to my direct left is John Plahowski, Chief Communications Officer at TD Bank. To his left is Sam Estoesta, Product Manager for Inclusive Innovation at TD Invent. And finally, Jeff Wissel, far down on the left, Chief Accessibility Officer at Disability In. So without further ado, I introduce our panel.
Good morning, everybody. Are you excited to be here? Because we certainly are, so thank you so much for attending, and thank you, Michael, for the warm introduction, and thank you all for joining us today. We know it's been a very long and productive week, so we'll work hard to make our session worth the early wake-up call that you received. I'm John Plahowski, Chief Communications Officer for TD Bank and Disability In board member. I'm a white male with gray hair and green eyes, wearing a white shirt and blue sports jacket. With me is Sam Estoesta, Product Manager for Inclusive Innovation at TD Invent, and Jeff Wissel, Chief Accessibility Officer at Disability In. Welcome, panel.
Thanks, John.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before Sam and Jeff share a little more about their passions and work in assistive technology, let me first introduce you to TD Bank. How many of you in the audience, by raising your hand, know TD Bank or have heard our name before? Oh, that is so comforting. Thank you so much. After we introduce TD Bank, then Jeff will give us a little bit of an update and get us up to speed on Disability In. We are America's most convenient bank, and we are unexpectedly human in how we approach banking, and for purposes today, accessibility. Let's roll video.
You can understand a lot about us humans if you just look in our wallets. Behind the cards and receipts, there's almost always a picture of loved ones. Reminders that nothing matters more than this. Which is why every TD employee helps to make our bank a greet you and your dog by your name, open longer when your Aunt Susan needs us kind of place. And we're also leading, changing where and how people bank, with the financial strength to support all kinds of businesses and customers with credit cards, loans, guidance, and solutions that put people first. Because TD sees millions of transactions, but we know it's the people behind them that matter most. That's how banking can be unexpectedly human.
So it's all about people, isn't it? And that's why we're here today. So let me move forward. So Jeff, over to you to share your story and the work you're doing at Disability In and with Disability In Partners.
Awesome. Thanks, John, and thanks, everyone, for this opportunity. Both personally and professionally, you may never know how honored I am to be up here in front of you today, and I'll share a little bit more about that. With Disability In, we're a leading nonprofit organization, and I like to say we're a little bit different than the traditional nonprofit because our members are corporate America. There's over 500 corporations who are members of Disability In. Over 70 of the Fortune 100s lean on us to really be empowered for advancing their disability inclusion and equity efforts. I'm the Chief Accessibility Officer, so I get to work with all of our corporate partners and many of you, my friends out there, on accessibility throughout the enterprise. With Disability In, we offer committees, over 15 different committees, everything from ERGs, the executive sponsors of the ERGs, chief diversity officers, accessibility accommodations. We are the certifying organization for disability-owned businesses. And think about it, if a disability-owned business, without supplier diversity, they wouldn't have much of a shot of lining up on a major company's procurement process. So being certified disability-owned is a very powerful tool to advance accessibility for these organizations. We're really known for our benchmarking tool called the Disability Equality Index, which over 570 companies have registered to take this year. And we're also known, no offense to CSUN, we're known for the best conference out there, which will be July 15th through the 18th in Las Vegas for all of our corporate partners. And I like to also just share one thing about Disability In. The way that we help businesses to advance disability inclusion and equity is by a simple phrase, and I'd like you all to repeat it after me. Why not now, and why not me? So all together, why not now, and why not me?
Why not me?
All of us as individuals in our roles, no matter what our roles are, have the opportunity to advance accessibility and disability inclusion. Real quick, John asked me to share a little bit about myself and my background, my connection to disability. I'm a 56-year-old male, white male. I used to have brown hair. I used to have hair. I had an amazingly wonderful career with a leading financial firm for 28 years and have been with Disability In for a little over 2 years. And one of the things that I like to do is a little demonstration. I find one of the biggest things with disability, and the greatest leadership lesson I've ever learned, is vulnerability, embracing vulnerability. When I started using a cane, I'm legally blind with a degenerative eye disease. This sound was a sound of vulnerability for me. I spent the first 48 years of my life trying to be this guy, trying to act like a sighted person, even though I wasn't. Today, because of Disability In and this community, and the fact that I had a mentor who helped me find my inner voice with vision loss, I'm this guy. I fight for this. This is now the sound of independence. I like this version of me better. What do you all think? That's what we do at Disability In. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Jeff. Sam, you have dedicated your career in life to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Tell us more, please, and how you advance your passions at TD Bank.
Thanks, John. So I am a 33-year-old female with brown skin. I have dark brown hair that turns to a very dark purpley blue that I'm very proud of right now. And I am wearing a shirt that says TD Invent on it. I have spent the better part of my life trying to figure out how to go into rooms that I feel like I belong in. I originally started in a core technical role, not at TD, but in my career. And I often would be the only female in the room. I would be the only person of color in the room. And I would be the only person who had an invisible disability in the room, as I would be often the first one to disclose. I found very quickly that disclosure was not a fun process to go through, especially when it was the only thing that I could mask pretty effectively. Can't really step out of my skin, can't really step out of how I present my gender. And so when I started to think about how I wanted to go into the rooms, and the rooms that I knew that there's a lot of weight going into those places, it's the only person who identifies as them, it became really important to think, okay, what does it mean actually for me to think about disclosure? I have a panic disorder, I have anxiety and depression, I also have ADHD, which you wouldn't know unless I really have those conversations, because I've been masking for a long time in my life. And TD was the first place where I actually felt like I can disclose. And so one of the things that I try to do in my day job is I think about those spaces where can we actually increase the ability to have disclosure, especially for individuals with invisible disabilities, because I think, as Jeff was saying, I like this version of myself better. I think being able to be very honest about where I am and the tics that I have and the way that I can colloquially talk about my disabilities has impacted the way that we do things. And I bring that into everything that goes on the innovation side.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Jeff, for sharing very personal stories. Now, I'm going to set the table, but before doing so, are you ready to get into some questions?
Yeah.
Okay. We are here to share a 360-degree view of inclusive innovation practices, how we embed them in your product and design processes, along with the communications that shine a light on your organization's culture and how you tell your story effectively. By the time we conclude, we hope we've made the case for inclusive innovation and the importance of assistive technology and its impact on people's lives, as you're hearing it all through the conference. So tell us, does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Leading in inclusion means that everyone can have equal access to information, opportunities, and services. By defining technology with accessibility at the forefront and including diverse perspectives at the foundation, as Sam and Jeff just mentioned, we can empower people with disabilities to fully participate in all aspects of the world today, fostering a more equitable future, not for some, but for everyone. Let us show you an example of what happens when you embed inclusion in the product cycle from the very start to launch. Like the development
At
of the
TD,
TD.
our purpose is to enrich the lives of our customers, colleagues, and communities. That's why, through TD Invent, we created the TD Accessibility Adapter, which is available to anyone at no cost. With one click, the TD Accessibility Adapter can help make the websites you visit easier to focus with a line-by-line reading guide, easier to read with a typeface option that can help you better distinguish each letter, easier to see with a customizable font size and font spacing, easier on your eyes with options to adjust color saturation, contrast, and monochrome, and easier to concentrate without distraction. And if you use assistive technology web tools, the TD Accessibility Adapter has been designed to work alongside them, so you can continue to use the tools you're accustomed to. We all want to live in a world that's just a little bit easier to navigate. Why not start with your online spaces?
So what do you think of that innovation? And guess who developed that? The person to your right, Sam Esto-Esta. Congratulations, Sam. Okay, panelists. The advent of the TD Accessibility Adapter suggests that inclusive innovation can mean different things to different people. Sam, how do you view it?
So the first thing is that the adapter is a full team that was a part of it. So one of the things that was really important is that we were working with individuals with disabilities who had disclosed and did not disclose. We worked with our digital accessibility team hand in hand and our assistive technologies team to make sure that anything that we were looking at creating here was in a way that wasn't going to add additional barriers. That meant we were thinking, okay, how would this interact with screen readers? How would this go throughout the entire process? And we weren't creating the solution, we were co-creating the solution. And it's really important when we're thinking about co-creation because when we look at the team makeups, when we look at the way that we build our teams, having that representation is so crucial because you have individuals across the bank who have different experiences. I have chronic migraines. When I started to think about the TD Accessibility Adapter, I thought I was going to be team dark mode. I'm not going to lie, I was pretty set on it. And low saturation is actually the feature that worked best for me as I started to play with it. And that was part of the feedback rounds that we had as we were building out these features. Low saturation is actually part of our epilepsy set of features, along with some of our other focus-based ones. But for me, it's the one that makes the most difference in my life. And when you're looking at a co-creation method, when you're having individuals with a spectrum of experiences and they're building the product from the start, that's how you really get to those solutions that address those barriers without solutioning just for the sake of solutioning.
Thank you, Sam. Jeff, how about you?
John, I think for me, when I think of inclusive innovation, I look back on my experience at my previous employer working with a lot of companies that use this for their retirement plans, 403Bs and 401Ks, and working with a lot of the accessibility teams and now at Disability In, I get to hear where companies are on their accessibility journeys, major companies. And a recurring theme is accessibility starts organically. Probably 97% of the time, it's a handful of passionate individuals within an organization, many of whom are directly or indirectly connected to a disability, recognize an opportunity to advance accessibility in their function, and they build a business case and try to get senior leadership support. I have yet to see a company where senior leadership says, here's all these things we need to do. Here's all the money that you need to do it. Now you, and you, go do it. It doesn't happen that way. I think the way that these passionate individuals organically grow accessibility is they have found what I call their inner voice, and they recognize, many of us recognize that we have to do, those of us with disabilities have to do things in traditional things in alternative ways. I'll be a dork and give a real personal, brushing my teeth. I can't tell you how many times I would try to put the toothpaste on a toothbrush and it would fall in the sink or get on my hand every time. And it's like, one of my blind buddies told me, get your own tube of toothpaste, squirt a little in your mouth, you got the right amount, right place, it works perfectly. Alternative way of doing traditional things. Those of us with disabilities need to bring our thoughts to the table. That innovation is what John and all senior leaders want from all of us. Bring those ideas. The more diverse, the more the diversity of thought, the more off-the-wall ideas because of our daily hacks. That is what makes our products and services better. With the TD Accessibility Adapter, it's an example of technology that allows individuals to participate. One thing John didn't mention is they created this tool for their employees first. Out of the box, a new hire can have that adaptive tool and not have to wait 6 weeks for a license for different things. That's participating. All of us want to participate. In order for anyone to feel like they belong, you have to be able to participate. To me, that's what accessibility and inclusive design is all about.
Thank you very much. We'll talk a little bit about something I have great passion for, which is marketing and communications. At TD, we have learned never to assume that your employees have total awareness around the accommodations and technology you offer them. One way to drive awareness is to encourage those who benefit from the innovation you adopted to tell their stories. Storytelling is a powerful force of good that should be embraced. It accomplishes 3 goals all in one: to help people think, feel, and act differently about your brand or organization and what it stands for. Be assured that the TD Accessibility Adapter has changed how people think about banking at large, but TD specifically. Sam, over to you. In product design, inclusion is often an afterthought or a box to check, but at TD, it's embedded into the innovation process. Can you tell us why that's important and how it has helped TD innovate more inclusively?
Absolutely. So we have an innovation framework that we use at TD, and part of that innovation framework is our inclusive innovation framework. And so the idea is that it's embedded at the start of ideation. We actually publicly made our innovation framework available as the Equity Resource Hub. So you can see the process that we use for our inclusive innovation framework. It's all about creating space to ask questions, to put in considerations. It gives you a quick start manual if this is the first time that you're thinking about, oh, I want to think about the implications or the intersections of race and ability or gender identity or other protected classes. And because we have that space, we have that embedded in the way that we think about innovation, that's where you get to have those innovations like the TD Accessibility Adapter. That's where you get to have those space to be able to think comprehensively and holistically about our users and create these solutions that actually address barriers of access.
Sam, you spoke about the Equity Resource Hub. Let's go a little bit deeper into that. Can you give us an example of how it is used by innovation teams outside of TD and how others can access it?
Absolutely. So you can go to the equityresourcehub.com. That is equityresourcehub.com, or you can shoot me an email and I will send you that link as well. The entire framework is in there. But before we actually launched it publicly, it was really important for us to pilot it with other organizations. And so we worked with the Coalition of Innovation Leaders Against Racism, CELAR, to actually do pilots with major organizations. So we're looking at OMERS, HP. We had conversations on our inclusive personas that are part of that, that were being tested by marketing teams and other groups, KPMG, these major firms looked at what we were doing and started to say, oh, this is the sort of way that we can think about inclusive innovation. And we've also partnered with academic institutions. The University of Ottawa uses the Equity Resource Hub in their inclusive innovation classes. These are the sorts of ways where it gets embedded outside of what we're doing as an enterprise and why it's so important to share these frameworks publicly.
So you're clearly not just talking about it, you're making it actionable, not just for us, but for everybody.
For everyone.
Okay, Jeff, as CAO of Disability In, you've worked with a lot of companies, including TD, to advance their disability and accessibility inclusion efforts. What are some of the ways you've seen organizations who are doing it really, really well? Conversely, where do you see opportunities for improvement?
John, I once heard when you talk about something and you single something out, there's always a chance of excluding others. I'm going to go with that and still a little bit of an echo. I think for everyone that I know in the audience, I could share a story about what your companies are doing. So if I exclude anyone here, I don't have all the time in the world, but just a couple of companies. Procter & Gamble is doing something that's pretty incredible to me. They are putting tactile symbols on many of their product bottles. The reason they're doing this, they started with Herbal Essence shampoo years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. It's kind of a really cool, quick story. The laser beam that puts the 10-digit lot code on the product, they found that displaces the plastic just a tiny bit, so it puts like a little tactile thing there. So they went to that laser technology developer and said, could you put symbols on our bottles? And they're like, yeah, we just write a line of code and it will displace the plastic. They're doing that, and think about it, for folks like me, I can't be corrected vision-wise, but how many of you wear contacts or glasses? And you probably don't wear them when you're taking your shower in the morning. Tens of millions of people around the world can benefit from tactile. Now, it doesn't matter to me if I use conditioner or shampoo with the locks that I have, but all kinds of products, Pampers, all kinds of things, they're doing this. Also, they're using a thing called NaviLens to put a code on their packages. So when you're walking down the shopping aisle, with the NaviLens app, it will I Spy that product on the shelf from up to 60 feet away and help you with pinpoint accuracy find it on the shelf, and then you can click a button that tells you everything you ever want to know about it. The neat thing about this, though, they even reached out to Unilever, an arch competitor, and said, please use these tactile symbols. They have a patent on it, but they didn't copyright it. They want to share for the better of society. Starbucks. There's literally a Starbucks in every corner. There's like one in this building and so forth. What Starbucks has been doing over the past couple of years is looking at what does that experience look like when you get to our front door, wherever it is. Walking in, what's that experience like walking that 30 feet to the counter, ordering? It's crowded in those stores. If you're deaf, hard of hearing, and they say, John, order's ready. Well, if John can't hear, John's order is getting cold. They're looking at those simple daily activities of daily living and trying to improve that experience so everyone can participate without effort. Another company, last one I'll mention, and everyone write this down. You want to download this app if you wear makeup, or you don't even have to wear makeup, but EL for Estee Lauder, EL space VMA for Virtual Makeup Assistant. It was designed for folks who are blind, low vision to help them using AI to make sure that their makeup is properly applied. What they are finding is that a lot of folks who are not visually impaired are using it to double check. And a lot of folks now are telling me that they won't go out until they use the virtual makeup assistant to check it. The other thing, of course, is with TD. All these companies are not just doing it for themselves. They're doing this and sharing, because that's really where we're all in this together, and together we're better.
So how about a big round of applause for P&G, Starbucks, and Estee Lauder for their great work. Okay, Sam and Jeff, this question's for both of you. Technology is moving faster than many of us ever anticipated. In a time of rapid growth, how can we ensure we're thoughtful about embedding accessibility into innovation? Sam, let's start with you.
So I think it's really about how you think about the holistic nature of where it gets embedded. So at TD, we have an accessibility office, we have digital accessibility teams, we have our AT teams. Our digital accessibility team is actually embedded in our design practice. So usually when we're thinking about where's the most natural fit for accessibility, sometimes people think in HR, sometimes they think about it a little separate out, but it's actually in our design and development teams right there. It embeds itself as a practice. And that's so incredibly important because then when you're looking at building out those features, those components, you have to be thinking about digital accessibility. You have to be thinking about how this impacts it. It's the same way that we think about innovation from an inclusive innovation standpoint. And once you have those pieces in there, that's where the magic happens.
And we love magic happening, right? Jeff, over to you.
So I need the audience help on this one. By any way that you can to make noise, who here either has a disability or has a loved one with a disability or knows someone with a disability? That's the answer. Making sure that companies realize that over 70% of disabilities are not apparent. Guys like me, guys like me try hiding it until we find our inner voice. We know on the Disability Equality Index survey, our benchmarking tool, over the past several years, less than 5% of employees self-disclose. I think we can all agree that number is way lower than the number of colleagues we have with disabilities. The awareness that accessibility and usability is critically important. Every employer wants all of us, not just to be able to perform the task of our jobs, but to perform at our peak. All of us have the opportunity, why not now, why not me, to raise the bar for our companies and our business functions and to ask your procurement department, do they have accessibility requirements in the contracts? So we're not buying brand new, broken products for accessibility. Making sure that our developers and designers, everybody has awareness and knowledge that, hey, we have our employees, we have our customers that need us to make a difference. The last thing I'll share, the secret sauce, and you heard it here first, cross-functional collaboration. So many times I have the opportunity to speak with a team at a company, leadership, and one of the business functions will give an example of something that they just implemented. If there's 10 people on that call, I can guarantee you every time someone in a different business function, they're like, John, are you serious? Can you share that with us? They're the same company. Cross-functional collaboration, because we're all in this together, and it's not, the secret is sharing. So that's what I would answer.
Well, that clearly suggests that we are in this together and we are all responsible for inclusion. So let's talk about some of the ways we think about embedding accessibility into marketing and communications, and then turn to you both on how you build inclusion allies across your organization. We recognize that we cannot go it alone. I think we all agree to that today, and that forging partnerships with leading innovation companies can help vault our efforts forward. One such company that we use, that we partner with, is Aira. Aira uses personalized technology to connect blind and low vision individuals with highly trained remote navigators, optimizing independence when navigating our 1,900 branches and ATM machines from Maine to Florida. And many of you are very, very familiar with Aira. Promoting these services and celebrating the stories of others who are accessing them is core to our marketing and communications rhythms at TD, and a strategy that I would encourage others to engage in as well. There is nothing more powerful than letting the people who use your products and services tell their story than for you to tell it yourself. And sometimes the stories we tell bring it home in many, many ways, including my own. So here's my son, John Byron. He is autistic and nonverbal. He uses TouchChat, an assistive technology that allows him to communicate with us via his iPad. And believe me, JB is never shy to share what's on his mind. The technology has changed our world in a very dramatic fashion. John Byron is 35 years old, but we really didn't start communicating with him and knowing what he wanted or didn't want until 3 years ago. And it was absolutely amazing, and it was absolutely emotional. I remember a story when we went to a Mexican restaurant, and we ordered just a bunch of food, and I didn't order guacamole. And he stood up, went over to the other end of the table, picked up his iPad, and put in the icon for guacamole, and said, "I want guacamole." And we're like, "Can't wait to get it, so let's go ahead and order that as well." So just thinking about these breakthroughs in this technology really, really changes lives in a very, very dramatic way. So it's not just our responsibility, it's also part of what we do within our organizations. And I wanted to ask Sam a little bit about how you think about that and how you bring it to life.
I think that there's a myth that the D&I teams have to do the brunt of this work, right? That it has to come from a core team to further these inclusive efforts. And your D&I teams are just one part of the piece. Everyone has a responsibility to be a part of the inclusion at your company, at the way that you do things. It's important that we all take our own actions. When we look at accessibility, it's not dependent on one person, it is dependent on all of us. It's dependent on the ways that we make our spaces more accessible, the way that we open up spaces for disclosure, for people to feel like they can be their most holistic selves. It's the way that we think about our own roles and what's our commitment to accessibility. And even when I think about how we built the Equity Resource Hub, there's a whole section on the types of roles that you can, and the responsibilities that you have, and the ways that you can apply the inclusive innovation framework to yourselves, be it an executive, a people manager, a technical person, or a non-technical person. We all have that responsibility.
Jeff, take it a little further for us if you can.
I would say, from what I've experienced with a lot of companies, starting with things that you use every day. And remember, why not now, why not me? Thinking about if you're a Microsoft shop. Before you send your next email, click on the review tab, and where spell and grammar checker are, one or two over is the accessibility checker. You click on that button and it analyzes your email and will help you determine if someone using assistive technology will be able to fully participate in your email. I don't know if anyone's ever, many of us in the audience who are blind visually impaired know this, but if you get a memo from your organization, say there's 3,000 people in your organization, and it's a beautifully designed graphic with all the details, they nailed it, right? But you hear blank document or image. Anybody hear that out in the audience? Anybody ever experience that? It happens all the time. You can avoid that by using the built-in accessibility tools in the Microsoft shop. Google, same thing, Google Docs. Those things that we have access to every day. And then also finding champions. Accessibility, John, before you mentioned, let's go one level lower. When you feel like you have a culture within the company where you can be your authentic self and share, real relationships happen at that level. And there are so many of us that are hiding a non-apparent disability. Being able to be your authentic self and share, I think is the secret answer. And so when you find folks in your organization, everybody's got a story, everybody's got a connection, those are your champions because they have the passion, and guess what? They also have a scope of influence, but it's just simply a matter of having a conversation. That's the secret sauce also.
So thank you both. Now let's turn our attention to the future. How do you see organizations continuing to evolve and prioritize accessibility in their products, services, and everyday behaviors? Sam, over to you.
I think I've attended every single session on AI and VR at this conference, and we are really at a unique spot. There's all of these opportunities for us to be thinking about these technologies in a way that is a little bit different than we thought about social media. We're starting to think of, seeing these voluntary charters, the way that we think about ethical AI, the way that we're thinking about bias within generative AI and some of these pieces. It's a fantastic piece. And there's also all of these applications already where individuals are using this technology as a core piece of the suite of ATs that they're using. We've heard a lot about how Microsoft's Copilot is existing, Be My Eyes, a few of these pieces that have really come through. And so that's where I'm excited for, is to see how we continue to work through with this next stage of artificial intelligence and the impacts that will come with it.
So Jeff, you're looking into your crystal ball. What do you see?
I have bad vision, so it's it's a little cloudy to me. In all seriousness, my good friend Mike Paciello, we talked about this all the time. It's scalability. And the first thing I think we all need to eliminate a phrase out of our vocabulary when we think of accessibility and what the future looks like, and that is these things take time. It's taken a lot of time to get to where we are. Things are going to move exponentially faster. I think in the next 3 months, if we're back at this table, we're going to be talking about something that we had no idea today is going to happen. It's moving that exponentially fast. What Mike always says is, how do we scale accessibility? I think in the tools that we use, automated tools and so forth, accuracy and just what it's going to be able to do, I don't even have a word for it. It's just going to blow our minds. But on the physical side of things, on the more mundane things, one of the most often asked questions I get is, how do we make our physical space more accessible and inclusive? And that's where I see some really cool innovations happening. Think about it, COVID hit, in 3 weeks, everybody was working from home. That's the mother of all creation, innovation is when our back's to the wall, we have to figure it out. Now that a lot of companies are getting back into the office, we have new experiences. We are different employees than we were 3 years ago, and we have different expectations. And I think the innovations in how we return to the office is going to be really cool, really exciting.
So are you okay if I take this question too?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So last fall, TD Bank and Accenture joined forces to advance disability inclusion across the marketing and communications professions by forming a cross-industry coalition in the hopes to advance representation, employment, and accessible content on the web. We recognize that many organizations seek guidance in adopting sustained disability inclusion practices within these functions, and we are here to help supercharge that effort. And if you're a CMO or a CCO, Chief Communications Officer, or you know one who would be interested in joining the coalition, please email Elise at disabilityin.org, also on the screen, and we can also start you on your way. But it's a coalition where we believe that there's strength in numbers and we're more powerful and successful together. So please encourage everyone to participate in this if this is something that you believe you'd like to be a part of. Okay, Sam and Jeff, a lightning round closeout question for you both. Regardless of where organizations represented here today are on their journeys, what are the 3 things they can double down on today to drive more and better, faster progress? Jeff, why don't you start it off?
I love this question.
I'm going to repeat that question. Regardless of the organizations where they are in their journeys today, what are the 3 things they can do to drive progress faster?
I love this question. I'll break it into three aspects. All of us as individuals, if you have, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, if you have a disability, learn how to embrace it, learn how to find your inner voice, find a mentor, and if you haven't, begin bringing your authenticity, your diversity of thought to the table, because we need you. We need your innovative spirit. Also for individuals, if you feel like in your organization, in your function, you can advance accessibility or it needs to be advanced, be that person, take that initiative. I once heard someone say this in regards to managers and having employees come to you that are self-disclosing a disability. You don't have to know everything. If you can refer, you can manage. Learn about your accommodations process, what the company's doing, so when that employee comes to you at a very vulnerable moment, you're walking with them, and it's a beautiful thing. If you can refer, you can manage. And the third thing I would say that is, I'm not going to say the most important, but the one that can move the pendulum the most. If you're in a leadership position, especially if you have a disability, lead by example. Self-disclose, and you have no idea the power of a leader leading by example. That's what I would say.
So thank you, Jeff. So Sam, if good things come in threes, what are your three?
The first is that you already have access to a wealth of experiences by talking to your employees with disabilities. There are already so many places where they're innovating in their own workspace that they've created solutions that work for them, and that is a real bastion of wealth to go to. The second is always asking yourself, what is the actual barrier or problem that you are solving? Sometimes when we think about innovation, there's a chance that you might be solving for nothing, and so always going back to the root cause. What is the actual problem or barrier that you are solving? And the last thing is that inclusive innovation is always evolving. We are never going to be subject matter experts. It will never be perfect. It will never have a saturation level. There's new things that come out every day that are going to have to make us change how we think about inclusive innovation. And so always having that growth mindset, always having that learning mindset as a part of the way that you think about your inclusive innovation pathways or frameworks or how you work through it within your organization.
Thank you both for that. So I'm going to ask again that question to myself. First off, it starts with having a plan, one designed around measurable goals and outcomes that first address the needs of your employees and your colleagues. Are you leveraging the best practices of others, such as the companies we've highlighted today? If not, it's easy to tap into these resources by joining the largest organization advancing disability inclusion in business today around the globe, Disability:IN. And third, remember, you don't have to go it alone. As Sam said, and also as Jeff said, explore partnering with innovative companies that align with your ambitions. Their innovations can supercharge bringing your ambitions to life as well, for the greater good of those who serve in the communities where you live and where you work. So this concludes our Q&A session. What we'd like to ask is anyone who would like to continue the conversation or have a question, just come on up here and ask any one of us if you'd like to follow up on any particular topic, any particular takeaway. We'd be more than happy in the remaining time to go ahead and address those questions at this time. But until then, thank you so much for being with us today and extending the conversation. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
John, Sam, and Jeff, thank you very much. A very interesting, and could I use the phrase inclusive conversation. There were a lot of interesting points I took away from this. You were pretty much speaking, quote unquote, my language. I heard phrases like disability inclusive innovation and ideation. That came out of it. The TD accessibility adapter, very cool. Sam talked about empathic design and holistic design. I mean, these are all the key elements that create the foundation for moving forward in what we develop and what we design for accessibility. I wanted to add one other word, though. Jeff, you had talked about accessibility and usability are the key to ensuring that what we build and what we develop is usable by individuals with disabilities. But because of AI, there's a third important component, and that is equitability. So you're hearing a lot about bias and edging out various communities of people with disabilities as a result of the advances in AI. And that's something we really need to focus on. So think about in terms of usability,